Welcome to
PIA.
PIA.
Welcome to PIA
2009.
PIA 2009.
2009.
Back in the PIA 2009.
We couldn't have PIA without having the legendary, the one and only Norman Kent. Welcome.
How you doing? Thank you. I'm just laughing about what you're saying.
Well, got to give you a little bit of grief here and there.
I like that. It makes me feel important.
Well, you are important. Why do you need to feel important?
Thank you.
You are important. You've done a lot for the sport. I didn't say thank you. You're supposed to tell me something cool that you've done recently.
Well, you're asking me what I'm doing for the sport? Or?
I know. I said you've done a lot of cool stuff for the sport. You're just being so shy.
I'm not being.
Norman is tongue-tied. No, oh my God.
I'm not tongue-tied. I just don't understand the question.
Well, I didn't ask for it.
No,
so what you doing?
I'm just messing with you.
What you up to these days?
Well, I'm working on a new book.
Excellent.
A new photo book. Yes, it's a little bit of a different concept than the early book that we did. The first book we did, we had more chapters, like large formations and my commercial work and competition pictures and that kind of stuff. And this is really more intended to appeal to the general public as well as skydivers, because I think there's actually a general public type person in every skydiver. And it's not.
But I think there's a skydiver also in every general.
That's why I think this would go really well. And I think the concept that we're doing is something where it's more about the environment, a little bit about, I guess, Mother Earth as a playground, and then how we play in it, versus whether it's a record or a big formation or what kind of stuff it is like that. It's more about how we fit into Mother Nature. So it's a different kind of, less chapterized and more of a beautiful book that way. And I've been looking forward to it because I've been collecting all these pictures over the years that I thought were really, really good pictures, but somehow they didn't fit with an article or with what the magazines wanted, or it wasn't just complete formation of something, or it's too far and people don't want to see it because it's too far. And I'm pulling out all that work now to fulfill this book. And it's really interesting to look through the work because it's kind of going back in the years, looking at all this photography, and you're like, you're just remembering every time that I shot those pictures and which one to pick and what for and what reason. And we actually determined that the publishers that I'm working with determined they wanted to work on 3 different books just from the material that we've seen so far. So I'm really excited about it.
You got it going on. You've been busy this year too. I've seen you on your VRW events. I've seen you on wingsuit events. You've been doing some formation skydiving events. What else have you been doing?
Well, I think the thing for me that's important to mention about that is that the sport has diversified so much. It's like it used to be just belly flying, and we did formations, and that was it a long time ago. And then, we came up with a long time ago for wingsuit flight. We introduced the 3-dimensional concept with the freestyle, and of course that opened all these other doors. And now there's wingsuit, and there's free flying, and there's belly flying, and of course swooping, all this other stuff. And I think the challenge for me is to keep up with all of it. Because for me, it's about shooting it, but to shoot it, you have to be there. And so when somebody's a wingsuit flyer, chances are they sort of devote their skydiving career to that because they love that, and they feel that they fit in that environment, and they love that, so they devote their entire time to that. And people are doing 1,000 jumps a year or whatever, and doing that one thing only. And all of a sudden I go to an event like that, and I gotta be good like they are, and do this thing, and be able to shoot the record, and also not only just shoot it and be there, but do it in a way that's just unique, my style, the way I like to portray it, the way I like to share it. And so that's great. But then what happens when you're going to go now to a free fly record or a free fly event? Well, you got to know that too, And so I think it's become really, really challenging to keep up with all the different disciplines in the sport and be at the top of my game in all of them like that. And I think that's one of the things that I've been up to, constantly doing training in each one of them. But in a way, I'm spreading myself thin because I'm not focusing on one at a time. But I tell you, I'll share a little something with you. It's really interesting because when I go training, I'm really the worst. I really am. I think I mentioned this before when we were working on the DVD for flying camera.
Right.
And but it's like I'm going to free flight training, for instance, next month, and you know, I get in the tunnel and I do free fly work, and I just feel so uncomfortable trying to learn to do this stuff. And then when I put my camera, it just all goes out the window, and I really become great. You know, it's more about having the mission of shooting the picture and seeing a vision of what I want to shoot, and then the flying just becomes automatic. But if I'm focusing on learning the flying, it's just a whole different game. It's just not as comfortable.
It'd be easier too if you could be satisfied with being the jack of all trades, master of some, but you have to be jack of all trades, master of all.
Yeah, I think you're right there, but you know, that's part of the challenge. I think it's
You're driven.
It's part of the challenge, and you know, I think I have to have a sense of humor about not being the best. Meaning, you know, like really, when I show up to a free fly record, I'm not necessarily, don't have the experience free flying as any of those guys. Like I couldn't go necessarily and do some of the things they do. But I bring something to the table that's got nothing to do with that. You know?
Your eyeball.
Yeah, so exactly. So, and it's really rewarding. Like when I did the shooting of the 69-way record last year, or whenever it was, a couple of years ago, it was interesting because I was working on how they fit in the environment, like we were saying earlier. And later on, when I showed them the work, they were all really like, wow, I don't remember that jump, you know what I mean? And it was like, because they're so focused on the one mission, on the grips and the mission of completing a record, that they end up missing, I guess, how they fit into the world. And that's what my job is. So I guess what I was bringing is something special that I'm better than anyone else at in that mode. So I was bringing something to the table beyond comparing myself and how my flying is compared to them. And I think that makes me feel really like I belong.
Well, I know 2008 was a busy year for you. I saw you all over the country, it seemed like, this last year. Is there any one event that stuck out, or any one experience that stuck out for you all year long?
Well, I think that one of the things, when I summarized the year, I think it was great for me, and when in talking to my sponsors and all that, they really noticed it, and that's great for me, is that I did diversify a lot. I was in a lot of different events. And I can't say that it's one in particular. I think that the 71-way record wingsuit flying was amazing, and I think to me it was a unique experience because I produced a lot of great results. Although I was not there for the entire event, but I produced a lot of great pictures. In fact, some of them I did not submit to the magazines because I'm holding them for the book. Right, some unique photography there. And but I think overall the entire concept was what we were saying earlier, which is it was again multi-flavored, you know. So, and I found myself going and doing stuff, and I was published quite heavily this last year because of it.
This past year, you've gone a lot of directions. In the last couple of years, you've gone a lot of directions. What's next for Norman Kent?
Well, I believe that what I have to remind myself is that, you know, I always said, if I had, how I came in, I guess I'll backtrack a little bit, how I came across photography. Many years ago, it became a passion for me. And the skydiving was the same thing. They just so happened to merge them. And this was many years ago, of course. So, but I always, you know, I felt fortunate that I have these two passions that I'm combining, because I'm in love equally with both of them. But I have asked myself, okay, if you had to choose one, which one would you do? Or which one would you choose? If somebody said you can only have so much fun, choose one and not both. And I would choose photography. I'm completely, photography is number one for me. And it's not to say anything bad about skydiving, it's more like if I had to choose, that's what it is. And thankful to that is that the photography that I do in skydiving. And the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I'm working with my son now. He's a photographer, he's working with me, and one of the things that I wanted to play with is photography outside of the sport. And so I think that what it's doing for me is it's allowing me to use some of my skills that I've been acquiring over the skydiving photography career, skydiving cinematography career outside of the sport. And it's actually a very interesting experience because it doesn't substitute skydiving. I'm not going to stop doing it for skydiving, but it actually makes me even more complete of a photographer. And one of the things that I find very interesting is that in skydiving, part of the challenge and part of the interesting parts are to deal in a world that's limited in time, limited in communication, where you're dealing with perhaps a more dangerous or a dangerous environment, and there's so many variables and so little time to work with. And when you take and make that a normal way of shooting, and and you then take all those elements out, all those restrictions out, and you go into a world where you can communicate, you have more time, and all of a sudden this attention span in your mind is like, what do I do with all this? You know, and I'm enjoying doing that. And what it's doing is it's sort of a combination. I also bring back to my shooting and the sport a more, I guess, creative point of view. So I'm trying to do more of both. And I think so. I think that's a direction that I'm taking. By no means does this mean that I'm quitting the sport or doing anything like that. I'm never going to do that, just because I love it too much. But I am exploring what it is to shoot using all of this attention span and all of this, I guess, awareness that you have from doing the sport outside of the sport, and doing that to I guess, share with people.
So soon we're going to see Norman Kent's display in the Metropolitan Museum of Art.
Hey, why not? As a matter of fact, if you go to my website now, one of the things that you'll see is a portal, and where you get to make a decision whether you want to go to the skydiving side, we call it skydiving production services, or you want to go to the photography side, which is basically outside of the sport.
Where's your website?
It's normankent.com. And of course, so when you go there, I do invite people to explore the other side. We have some interesting things there that we did. We played with some underwater photography and a lot of very unique things there. So I think people should go take a look and see that there's another dimension of Norman Kent.
We'll look forward to going through and seeing some of that. Thanks for spending the time with us.
You bet. My pleasure. Thank you very much.
Back at you.